So welcome back, everybody. And today, of course, we have Tony Sayers back. Our topic will be the dark side of spirituality, if there is such a thing. So, Tony, welcome back.
Thank you.
What's new with you?
Well, our interviews keep getting me strikes. I've had to. They always seem to pick our interviews on my channel. So
Oh,
yeah, I don't know why. I don't know because I know you've had a few strikes on your channel. So maybe they link the two together and yeah, it's been challenging keeping the information up. So I've had to try your technique that you recommend with hiding the channel for a while. I've got my backup channel, so I'm hoping next month, that technique should have worked. But yeah, so apart from that, I'm doing really well. Yeah, and yeah, just trying to
so
swerve the.
they took down two interviews that we did.
So what happened is before, when I've had strikes before, quite often there've been the interviews that we've done. Maybe one or two strikes I've had in the past. It's related to our interviews. And then this time around, they definitely striked one, and they took or they and then the reason I took my channel down was because I was then on two strikes, and then they took another video down like really almost straight after I got a second strike, and I'm like, wow, they're going for it. They're really going to go for it. They're going to take the whole thing down. So that's why I emailed you. I need to do something, and I think the second video that they took down might have been one of our interviews as well. So I don't know. They don't seem to like us very much, but so I was
Hmm.
at the point where I'm like, okay, I either let my channel get taken down, which is like nearly 10 years worth of work, as you know, or I remember what you did and you suggested to do. So that's when I emailed you like, hey, what do you recommend? And you said hide the channel. So fingers crossed, that will work. So but I'm surprised my channel's lasted as long as it has, really. I mean, I've even now, I've still got people like Magenta Pixie and Elizabeth April. I got an email from YouTube on my new account saying that she's copyrighted the video that I put up about her, and Magenta's tried to get the re-upload taken down. So there's a lot of people that are unhappy with the stuff that I put out, and so the fact that I've got any presence on that platform is kind of shocking in and of itself, really. So, but what choice do you have? You have to keep going and twisting and turning to try and avoid these things. So.
Hmm. Yeah, they usually give you a reason now. So what was it? What did the Truth Ministry had to complain about?
I think a lot of the videos that are getting flagged are back in the illness days, even though the illness is apparently coming back, right? Um, and I can't remember exactly, but it was definitely one around that time that me and you did. And then they took another one down. I don't know if it was you and I, but I remember thinking at the time there's a theme with you and I and our videos, so they don't like it. But it seemed like at the time, and other people have said that they were getting flags and strikes, and YouTube goes on this like every now and then it will go on this purge, won't it? It felt like that there was a purge going on, and I was going to be next. So and
Hmm.
I still might be next, but um, so I've actually, yeah, I've hidden the channel, and yeah, anything to do with the illness, where I may have mentioned anything, I've taken down those videos for now. So they're all up on my BitChute and Odyssey, so they're still there. But you know yourself, this is where the traffic comes on YouTube. People don't go really to those other platforms, so it's important to have a presence here if you can. So yeah, it's been quite an intense few weeks trying to
Isn't
avoid.
that, yeah, isn't that really sad that people cannot switch the platform? You know, everybody is bitching about censorship, but when it comes to, yeah, well, switch the platform. No.
Yeah, actually, it's interesting you make that point because I was a little bit frustrated and kind of sad as well because I've been saying for a while that I'm over on BitChute and Odyssey and all that stuff, and yeah, the views don't match up. So it's like, and it almost feels like people just can't, they can't be bothered to just change it over just to get the information. But it is what it is, It's I think we're all creatures of habits, and yeah, it's just what it is. What it is. So.
Okay, Tony. So, dark side of spirituality. Hmm. Would you say there is such a thing?
Well, what I'm saying now is I don't even. Here comes the noise.
I
You
hear nothing.
can't make this stuff up. You can't. I swear. um, yeah. What I'm saying now is that I don't even like the term spirituality. I think it's been so hijacked and inverted, and this modern day version of spirituality is based in Satanism. I believe it is. When you look at what it's teaching people, and the things it's looking for you to connect with, and so I don't even really like that term at all. Of course, I do know that we are a spirit within this meat suit, right? So I guess that is something, but this whole new age thing, this whole all the books that have been written by people like Eckhart Tolle and all these, this is all cult stuff. It's the new age, or this version of spirituality is one big cult, and they throw a few nuggets of truth in there to get people hooked in, but then they shroud it with all this love and light BS and spiritual bypassing, and it's basically leading people to a road to nowhere. So I don't even really like the term itself. I think we really need to redefine the direction that we're headed. And I really like the word sovereignty. I think that's the direction that we should be headed to. Because when we're in that kind of sovereign energy, we are really difficult to control. While we're in this spirituality, we're still in their game. We're still playing in one of their agendas, and it's really not empowering people. In fact, it's doing the opposite because people are still waiting around for saviors, Archangel Michael and aliens, and the next new age guru. They're hanging off every word that they say. There's nothing sovereign about that at all. And of course, the teachings in there, they don't teach sovereignty. It's all, just ignore the negative and don't ever get angry about anything, and all that nonsense. So for me, sovereignty is where it's at. It's being responsible for all your actions, taking responsibility, not looking for a leader, not waiting for someone to come round and save you, not waiting for Robert Kennedy Jr. to come and save you, or Trump, or the White Hats, or Jesus, Buddha, or that realization that, okay, it is what it is. The only way out is really, we're going to get ourselves out of this, not anybody else, not any entity or deity. Because let's face it, we've been trying that for probably thousands of years now, and there comes a point where you've got to put everything on the table and say, do you know what? This isn't really working. It's like the whole praying and all that stuff. It's not really working now, is it? We've been doing it for a long, long time, and we're more enslaved than what we've ever been. So for me, I think we need to be moving in the direction of sovereignty rather than spirituality. And of course, it's having that inner standing that, yes, we are spirits within bodies, and consciousness never dies, and all that stuff, which is really empowering, which is the nugget of truth that they give you in the new age. So we can take that with us, but we really need to drop the other stuff, and we really need to be moving towards the this whole idea of sovereignty, I believe.
Mm, yeah. And what you just mentioned, sometimes I think we simply exchange dogma. And here's what I mean by that. A lot of people, they go into spirituality with the preconception that it is a wonderful thing and there's nothing wrong with it. And then they, yeah, are happy that they left behind, the concepts of organized religion.
Mm.
Yet, at the same time, sometimes they just exchange the dogma. So here's my example. Most religions have one version of a narrative that goes like that. If you are a good girl, a good boy, you follow that set of rules, you go to heaven. Why I have to wait until, for a good life until I am in heaven? Nobody knows. Nobody ever
Oh,
asks
oh,
or
because
answers.
Earth's a school, Judith. Didn't you know?
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, and if you are a bad boy, a bad girl, then you go to hell. Okay. But then all of a sudden, yeah, okay, you throw that overboard, and yes, that is a step forward, but not if you exchange it with karma,
Yeah,
you know. And I have to say that I'm a purist when it comes to karma. Even during the time when I was still practicing Tibetan Buddhism, all the teachers always said, stay away from, because what tends to happen is, in its strictest sense, karma describes cause and effect, and that is a real thing. I can't drink 2 bottles of wine and expect not to be drunk. Yeah, one is the cause, the other is the effect. The confusion starts when people, you know, conflate it with fate, with punishment, and what have you. And that is usually what happens with a lot of people. That I heard even things, and I was really appalled by that. I have to say that long, long time ago, two of my colleagues, we had a gentleman in a wheelchair, and then ground personnel comes and they get them out. Usually, they are the last to exit the plane. And I overheard a conversation between two colleagues. Yeah, that his condition is a result of his horrible karma, and we're wondering about what he did in a former life. And I didn't say anything,
right.
but I found, that to me already goes into the direction of eugenics,
Yeah,
the mindset behind that.
yeah.
So what say you?
Yeah, I agree. For a while now, I've thought that karma is just another program that they put out there to keep people in check, and I really don't see karma playing out in the way it's described. You know, we have children dying with brain cancer and stuff like that, horrific things like that. We have people that have not committed crime that go to jail for life, and all these kind of things. And yet we have these child abusers that have all the power, all the riches, they have all the control in the world. And I just don't see it playing out in the way that it's described at all. And I feel that karma, very much like the idea of heaven and hell, is the main use of it is to guilt and shame people to come back down here at the life review. So when they pass over, they're shown the life review, and these entities will tell them, we're not judging you, but they show you all your worst bits, right? Leave out all the good bits. So you end up judging yourself. So it's very clever how they do it. And so, yeah, they might say, well, Judith, what you did in 1984, that really hurt that person, and you were a bad girl, and you're gonna unless you want to like go to hell, you're gonna have to go and resolve your karma and have another lifetime and stuff like that. And because people are so rigid in their belief of things like karma and heaven and hell, it's like they just go with it, and they're back down here again and having another lifetime because they were sold this idea that they need to resolve their karma, and in order to elevate or to pass this school that we're supposed to be involved in down here, right, which is all guilt, shame, trauma, sadness, and then they wipe the memory. So it's like, well, okay, if we're here to learn, like why does the memory get wiped? So the karma and the heaven and hell, these are all matrix tricks, really, to shoehorn people to come back down here, so they get used as batteries again for their energy by all these entities. And like I say, I really just don't see it playing out in the way that it's told. Of course, you say cause and effect. That's a real thing. If I'm going to eat a load of junk food for the next 10 years, I'm very much probably going to get a heart attack or diabetes or something like that. And that's what we're seeing play out, literally. So karma is more about our everyday choices, and the fact that our everyday choices have both a negative and a positive charge. It's not so much this idea that, if I tell someone to F off, I'm gonna get stabbed in the back like 5 years later or something like that. That's I think where people confuse it. And it's actually, yeah, I mean, and who's the judge of all this anyway? I mean, this fake AI god that's sitting on his cloud with a beard, like just watching everyone, billions of people watching what they do every minute of the day. Like, who is this deity that's supposed to be judging and dishing out all the karma and stuff? I mean, it doesn't make sense. So yeah, I think it's very much a program of the Matrix. And just to go back to your point before that, in the fact that what we see quite often, both backwards and forwards, you see a lot of people from the religious side flip flop over to the new age, and then you get the new agers that flip flop over to the religion. And I found this very interesting over the last 2 or 3 years, since things are ramped up with all the restrictions, and it's obviously getting to that point where people are probably in a lot of fear, and so they're just jumping from one savior program to another, because they haven't gone on the internal journey of what I was talking about before, realizing their own sovereignty, realizing that they're incredibly powerful and creative being in their own right, realizing that we don't need authority, people in suits, to tell us what to do and how to live our lives, and taking responsibility for all of our actions and our own healing. They haven't gone down that journey, so they're still looking for a savior. They're still looking for that quick fix, because we live in a society where people just want a quick fix to everything. Oh, if I just say a quick prayer, right, that's gonna solve my problem. No, it's not going to solve your problem. What's going to solve your problem is you taking real life action and doing what you need to do. We lean on these things to make ourselves feel better. And I get it. This realm is, as I said before, is you can have moments of love and joy and happiness and nature. Don't get me wrong, it's not all bad, but the overarching theme is trauma and fear and all this other stuff. So it's a very difficult place to exist in, and I understand why people want to look for these pillars to lean on, because it makes them feel better. But ultimately, in the long run, they're going to end off worse. They're going to end off worse unless people give up these rigid belief systems. Then they will be used against them later on at some point. And this is why I said on another podcast the other day, I feel like this lifetime is so important to get it right, because there seems to be this window of opportunity where we have the opportunity to get out of here now. They know that. This is why they're trying to enslave us via AI and everything like that. And consciousness transference is down the road, where it won't be a soul trap in the sense that we're talking about with the false light. It'll be a soul trap in the fact, in the sense of your consciousness is trapped in a computer somewhere.
I don't
And
even think that that is possible, really. It might download some, let's say, patterns of thoughts, but your real essence, because your consciousness is not in your brain.
yeah, yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
And that is why I think this is nonsense.
yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, whatever way you want to cut it, they're looking to try different ways to keep us here, keep us as these batteries here on Earth. And so, when you study the NDEs and the pre-life experiences and all that stuff, yeah, it's with the memory wipe. What you don't want to do is come back next time round and you've forgotten everything that you've learned in this lifetime, and you have to research. Why that's why they call it research, over and over again, because you never know when you're going to get this far down the line again. So with the knowledge that we have, because we have the internet, and it's been a good thing and a bad thing, because we're able to spread this awareness. So it's really important that people get it right this time, and really have a plan, and plan what they're going to do when they pass, and how they're going to deal with certain things. And I think so many people still just want to leave it to chance, and they just want to think it's going to be all right on the night, because Archangel Michael will show up or something. And these NDEs, they're coming back down and they're reinforcing that idea, right? They're agents of the Matrix. This is why we're seeing so many TV series now about NDEs, and it's all over YouTube, and because they know that people are starting to find out about the soul trap and things like that, and they need to keep the beliefs the way they need them to be. So it's vitally important that people get it right this time.
Mm. So now, when it comes to what we usually call shadow work, I'm not saying it's totally useless. That is not my perspective. Yet, if you are in your 5th year of healing your inner child, it's time to call it what it is, a dead end. Yeah. Also, you always live in the past. I mean, yeah, you can dig down, 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 deeper and deeper, and you will even find the tiniest trauma.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this is not the time to do it. If you have huge issues and it interferes with your social life and maybe even your job and in your relationships, yes, you have to do something about it, of course.
Yeah.
But it is too easy to get into that rabbit hole. And, while the world is going down the way it is, we need to find our inner warrior and not sitting in the corner, still trying after 5 years to heal our inner child. What nonsense is that?
Well, I have to disagree slightly there, Judith, because I've seen the change in my own life. That
Mhm.
I was what I was doing. If I look at myself, when I first started waking up to everything, I was very much using this. Don't get me wrong, I cared about things and I was trying to raise awareness. I had good intentions, but I also see it now as I was projecting a lot of pain and suffering that I had in my background onto the world. And I've had I've done a lot of work on myself, and I would say I'm a completely different person because of that. And one of the things that I think a lot of us do have, and I certainly had, and maybe that's to do with the fact that we are kind of this like slave race, was the feeling of lack of self-worth, not feeling good enough, never feeling adequate. And I had that very strongly in my background, as do a lot of other people, and I've worked on that a lot, and that's now no longer there for me. So there is positive changes with doing that work. And in terms of the inner warrior, I do agree with you on that. But when you have maybe a 5-year-old in the background, or a 3-year-old, or maybe you have several what I call holographic imprints that are stuck there in trauma, it's very difficult for people to embody that inner warrior if they're fragmented in terms of their inner child, because the inner child is also the inner warrior. And if you can get the inner child to be at peace with itself, and for many of us, our inner child, they are suppressed because at some point they didn't feel safe for whatever trauma happened to us, even if it's just unconscious parenting. And so they're kind of unable to fully express themselves in that kind of warrior mode while they're still stuck there in time and space in trauma. So there is I do agree with you. You get to a point where, okay, you don't want to keep dwelling in it, and like you need to move on, but I do feel that just not doing anything about it at all is also detrimental. And I think
That
you
is
touched.
not what I said.
No,
I'm
no,
not.
that's what I said. You did mention that you should do. So I want to give you credit there. I kind of worded that wrong, but I think, yeah, I think it's important to look at it, look at the shadow, but also we need to do other things as well. And part of that is, the warrior side of things.
Yeah. Okay. So, in your personal experience, when did that point come where you were, let's say, still working on trauma, but you also moved on? Because that point has to come. Otherwise, it's for nothing.
Yeah. So what I would say is that trauma is like an onion, and you go through the layers, and then you get to the core, and then once you get to the core, you can back off, right? So for my own personal journey was when I first started that 5 years ago. I would say I went at it hard for maybe 6 months, 6 months to 8 months, something like that, where I was perhaps having regular work with someone, and then I could feel the changes, and then I backed off, and then I backed off, and then very rarely maybe I might go into something where I get triggered. I'm like, oh, what's that coming from? So I'm not there still 5 years later going at it, going at it, going at it. No, if you do it, I think the problem is, Judith, I think there's so much crap out there that doesn't work. This is why people are coming to the conclusion, well, what we're doing, I'm spending 5 years, all this money healing, nothing's working. I think you've got mainstream psychotherapy, which is rubbish, right? To give you an example of that, I worked with someone once that she had a car crash. She was in a car crash, and she went to see the government psychotherapist, and he told her, just pretend that it didn't happen, right? So this this was the advice she got from. So we got the mainstream psychotherapy, and then you got like the new age psychotherapy, right? So there's a lot of stuff in there which is, yeah, useless at best. And so we have these two dynamics which really are not getting anywhere, getting anyone anywhere. And I think for me, there's a couple of things. IFS for me is that's the one that I use. That's the one that worked for me. Internal family systems. I live and die by that. I think it's fantastic. So maybe there's other modalities, but it's finding something that works. And I think that's been the challenge for all of us. They don't want us healing, so they give us mainstream garbage, and then they give us this new age garbage, and so we're left with like, well, what's the point? I'm not getting anywhere. So it's finding something that works, and really gets to those holographic imprints that are stuck in time and space, and reparenting ourselves. So and yeah, that can be a process, but it doesn't have to be something that you're working at 5, 10 years down the line. Not at all. You can when you first start, yeah, you need to go at it a little bit harder because there's stuff to work through. But if you do it properly, you can back off and to the point where you don't really need to touch it.
Hmm. Yeah, but you see my point that it can become, yeah, let's say like a cave where you hide. I cannot take action because I'm still healing my inner child,
Yeah,
and
people can use it as an excuse. Yeah,
yeah,
understand.
yeah. So and that is what I meant. And if you find yourself, I know people who have been doing that 5 years, even 10 years, and the result was basically nothing. And that is probably what you said. There's stuff out there, a lot of stuff that absolutely does not work.
And for example, right, if we take one of the new age concepts, sometimes people will go to me, yeah, but Tony, I've done a lot of healing. I've let it go. I've let it go, and I'm like, what does that mean? Like, what's letting go mean? It means nothing. Like that does nothing for the inner child.
To go to.
Yeah, I mean that. But that's what this is what I'm saying. That's what people are calling inner work. They're calling inner work letting go. I mean, it's just when you've worked with someone who's been through satanic ritual abuse for a while, and they've gone into the deepest, darkest things that you could ever imagine, and then someone else comes to you and says, "Oh, but I've done a lot of work. I've just let it go." It's like now you understand why people aren't getting anywhere because this is the garbage that they think that is healing themselves. Or the other thing, right? You'll get people that say, "I've done ayahuasca," and they're like, but that's not healing. That's not doing any. That's taking some jungle juice, probably opening yourself up to a bunch of entity attachments, and so this is like our idea of like what is healing is really, uh, it's really kind of distorted because there is so much junk out there. Because I don't think that they want people going into being fully healed. So yeah.
Yeah. So, what do you think is, yeah, I know you don't like the term spirituality, but if it were practiced correctly, what is the biggest difference between religion and spirituality?
The biggest difference. I would say the biggest difference is, I guess, not looking for a savior. I think,
Mm.
religion. Obviously, we have the King Savior in God or Jesus, which we did a podcast about a while back. I think, um, there's people. There's people that at this point in time that think that Jesus is going to come down at any moment and liberate us all. I mean, this is like this is stuff for kids, right? You could give a kid a book that said that, and they'd be like, "Oh, that's fantasy." And then you have the other side of the coin, as I say, that the New Age that they think that all these angelic beings or guides or these things are going to save them, and I think it all ties into dropping those savior programs and being responsible, taking responsibility, as you said before, being responsible for those cause and effect decisions that we make. How many people do we know that? And I'm not saying I'm perfect, by the way, but how many we all have people in our lives, right? Who you'll talk to them and they'll be like, this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened, and you'll be like, and then they'll tell you the story, and you'll be like, yeah, I can see why that happened. I can see why that happened to you. Yeah, yeah, because you did this, right? And it's like they can't join the dots because they're just like not taking any responsibility for their actions, and then they have chaos in their lives, right? It's about making good, smart decisions based on discernment. And I would say a big part of this, like, if we're going to redefine spirituality as like sovereignty, is not only self responsibility, but it's discernment. And even in alternative media and truth communities, the discernment is awful. I've got to be honest, it's awful. some of the people that these people are falling for, it seems to me that people only need to say a few things that make people feel good, and they're all in. People like Robert Kennedy Jr. and Trump and all these false light teachers. It's like they don't even really have to try hard. They just say a few truths. There's no People are not like feeling into the energy. They're not feeling into the person. It's just like, oh, that sounds like it might be true, and oh, he also said that made me feel good, and oh, he's going to bring in the quantum money and wipe all our debts out. Oh, that feels good to me. So I'm gonna that's gonna be my truth. That person's a truth, and it's like this system, this matrix, it's got wolves in sheep's clothing all over the place. It's got psyops. It's layered with psyops, and I don't think people are getting it to the level that they need to in terms of the depth of their discernment. I'm not saying everyone, by the way. There is a lot of people that have, but it just with the prime example, this documentary that came out, the Sound of Freedom. I mean, again, straight away, I'm like, that's a cult documentary. I mean, it's all over the movies, all over the cinemas. I mean, you can go into a mainstream cinema and watch it, and people in the alternative media, that they're sharing it everywhere. It's the next best thing, and then you dig a bit deeper and you find out the people behind it are child traffickers. You find out that the agenda is to microchip the people. I mean, I didn't even watch it before I found all that stuff, because I knew immediately. It blew up overnight. Same thing with the other ones that come out, Fall of the Cabal. It's like they don't even really have to try hard. And I think at this stage, many of us are years into this now. I think our discernment levels need to be a lot better than what they are. And I'm not saying that I get everything right all the time, but it's obvious. Some of these people are obvious. They're obvious puppets. It's straight off the bat, and I just don't think that people are really taking their time to discern what's being told to them and feeling into that frequency of truth. And I would say that if we're going to define spirituality as sovereignty, self-responsibility, drop in the savior programs, I would say that discernment, real discernment, has got to be up there as well. Because that's why we're in this mess. This is why we're in this mess. We're being deceived. We're being deceived all the time. And then when we die, we get deceived by these entities. We've got to wise up to them. We've got to wise up to their games and the tricks that they pull all the time. It's rinse and repeat. It's like they don't even really have to be that creative. So that would be high up on the list as well. Discernment.
Yeah. When you just said not able to connect the dots, there was a very brass example. There are some criminal lawyers on YouTube, and one of them had he does reviews, and also from police cameras and so on and so forth, and trials. He talks about the trial, what the defense is doing wrong, what the prosecution is doing wrong, and so on and so forth. And he had an example lately. There was a teenager who had just killed his mother, and the police was in the house, and this teenager couldn't fathom that he will go to jail. And he was sitting there. He went, I'm going to jail? The police were, yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. We see that in real life, but it's worse still when within, truth community or whatever, when they drop in one of these controlled opposites. It's so frustrating. I know it's frustrating for you because we've done shows on it, when the whole, that was the video that they flagged, actually, the Trump one that we did, the QAnon one.
Yeah, that is, but I told you not to put it up on your channel, because it was taken down on my channel as well.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, so that's very telling because I think in the next couple of years we're going to see him team up with Robert Kennedy Jr. As the duo, the caped duo, the Robin Hood and Batman that's going to come to save America. So it's interesting that they flagged that one. So yeah, I don't know. I just at this point I'm just frustrated with it. You know, I just if people are still at this point looking at a politician that's going to come to save them, it's we've got no hope. And I think we have to be frank about that at this point. I really do. I think there's too many people that are still looking for, you know, it's bad enough looking for a savior, but if you're looking at someone that's in the field of politics to come and save you, then you really got a problem there. And I think we do as a species, um, because when has that ever happened, right? And of course, yeah, they'll tell us a few good things that they're going to do, and Robert Kennedy says all the right things with his Parkinson's, which I feel is fake as well. I've got to say it. I do. I feel like it's fake. It's an act. People got to remember this isn't. This is all a show. We're watching a movie play out. Everything's scripted. It's all in The Simpsons. All you need to do is watch The Simpsons, and they'll tell you what they're going to do next. And so everything that you're seeing on the mainstream alternative media or mainstream media, it's all a movie. It's all scripted, and you know he's just playing a role as his role as savior, as Trump was. And what's worrying to me is when you go on like their Instagram or a video, it's like there's so many. Oh, you're so great. Oh, yeah, I'm glad you said this. Oh, yeah, you're for the people. And I'm like, oh my god. So I don't know. I think we're at the point now where we got to be honest about where we're at, and yeah, many people they're gonna end up staying here if they don't snap out of all that stuff and grow up. You know, that's really it's about growing up. You want to define what sovereignty is, it's about growing up consciously. And I think, yeah, as a species, we're kind of, I don't know whether it's immature or just naive is probably the best word to use. Naive because we're desperate. And when people are desperate, they do desperate things and they look for saviors. And we've got to look at it from a more balanced view. You know, yeah, this is a difficult place at the moment, but we can't make decisions based on how we feel. If it makes us feel gooey inside, and if someone just says something that we want to hear, and so yeah, it's about here. It's about going with what is true rather than what feels good. And there's a big difference in that because I've said many times, truth doesn't always make us feel good, and often makes us feel a bit shit at points. But through that, there's gold there, and that's what I believe. And the more of us that do that, then we'll find our way out of this.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess a lot of people right now are looking because, yeah, here in Germany we have a pretty infantile government. Yeah, um, it to me it feels like a car crash, and I guess a lot of people in the United States feel something similar. And yeah, but I mean, even that two-party system is so, yeah,
Oh,
both
it's so
wings are
boring now.
attached to the same entity. Yeah,
Oh
you
my
have wing, a right wing. It doesn't really matter because the entity is the same. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. At this point, it's boring. Okay, there's no other word for it. You know,
mm,
if people can't see through the two-party left versus right, two wings of the same bird system by now, and realize that nothing ever changes, no matter what piece of paper you put in what booth, then they're never going to learn. And at this stage of the game, you would hope that most people have grasped that by now, but clearly not.
mm. So there, what is your feeling about this? Let's say, I know it will not happen, but we're just speculating here. Let's say there is a country where nobody shows up for any election, do you think they would still publish election results?
Probably. Yeah, I can't see that happening, like you say. But I don't think they're going to stop what they're doing. I don't think they. I don't even think they have the ability. They're almost like programs, and they just keep going and keep going with whatever they've got in place. So I don't necessarily think they're going to stop, but it's whether or not we partake in the madness. And we've said many a time that this is a clown show, and if we partake in it, we're the clowns. So we've got to stop being clowns, realize that it's a show, and create our own show away from all of this. And yeah, just say no. We did a whole show on just saying no, didn't we? But
Yeah.
I think it's got to go deeper with a lot of people out there, because I don't think they've reached that internal essence of sovereignty yet. I think they're still, yeah, they're still in the mindset of a slave, even if they think that they're awake to a few things. They
Yeah.
still think that there's people out there that think Hollywood is going to expose Hollywood through a documentary, through a film. I mean, this is where we're at as a community. There's many people that think that, yeah, Hollywood is going to expose itself. Um, so
Yeah. I mentioned this in a different podcast, but I think it is true, and it is a little bit sobering. You can do something like yeah, let's say a social test. Yeah. Just do the following thing. Ask somebody to write down the 3 things that are most important to them. And generally, you might find family, health, job, well-being, yeah, things like that. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong per se with that choice, but what you will hardly ever find on that list is truth and freedom.
yeah, it's sad. It's sad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And that describes precisely the, yeah, very sad state that we are in.
Mm. Yeah, it is sad. But you know what? I don't know what you think about this, but I was having this conversation with someone else the other day. This whole idea in like the new age that we're all one and all that stuff. And yeah, maybe at some point that is correct, maybe somewhere. But this journey, the more I'm on it, feels very much more like a solo journey, and it's almost like I don't know if everyone's or humanity's ever going to be like liberated as such. Maybe probably not in my lifetime, at least. Um, Hopefully, people like you and I are starting those wheels turning, and we could be the start of something. But it feels to me, especially when you research like the soul trap and everything like this, that this is also an individual journey. I think that the word soul itself, it means one, right? And so when you're talking about how to transcend this matrix, what to do when we leave, it's all about the soul. It's all really about the self, it seems to be. So I'm wondering, I forgot where my train of thought was going with that, but I think it was to do with that was it.
Yeah,
When you
all one. You started there. You had a conversation with somebody
Yeah, no,
about,
it was you saying about humans being free and wanting to be free, and like you say, most people don't. And the more I think about it, I think it's we if we can liberate ourselves on a soul level, then we've done our job. We've spoken our truth while we're here. We can't really do anything more than what we've done in that respect.
hmm,
And I think it's left to the cards will fall where they may with humanity as a species. But for me now, I'm like, no, I need to sort myself out. I need to make sure I get myself out of here and I don't come back. And humanity's going to do what humanity's going to do. And of course, we need to speak the truth for the children and the future generations. And that's what it's the idea of these podcasts. So we shouldn't stay quiet about it, but it really is about discovering who and what we really are, and walking that path to sovereignty, embodying that sovereign energy, um, and getting the hell out of it, right? And I think by proxy, the more of us that embody that sovereign energy, that will inspire others, and that's a frequency that people can feel, and then that will in turn hopefully help other souls to see the way as well. So yeah, this idea of humanity being free as a species, yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know. I hope that would happen. I know that it seems to be at a crossroad, um, but I think for me now, I'm like, okay, I'm going to focus on myself a bit as well, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So if you ask me, do I think we are all one? On an absolute level, yes.
Mm,
But that doesn't mean that on a relative level, meaning here in 3D, we are all one, because we are not. Yeah. And before we haven't managed or mastered the 3D level, it's kind of ridiculous to talk about the absolute level. You know what I mean? There are
yeah.
different levels of understanding, awareness, and so on and so forth.
Mm,
And if you cannot distinguish between those levels, then you will be always in confusion, because when we are all one, yeah, then why is war here?
yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I walked past a parked car yesterday, and there was a guy with a face nappy on, and I'm like, I'm not one with that guy. I am not one with that guy in that car or in that face nappy. Don't tell me I am, because I'm not.
Yeah, yeah, I absolutely understand what you mean. And yes, there are differences. And I think for the moment, it is interesting, of course, in, let's say, philosophical musings, yeah, to go there and talk about the absolute level. And yeah, it's interesting, but it is, you know, like an evening at the fire, yeah, and very enjoyable, but it doesn't really have any influence on what is happening right here, right now.
Yeah.
I can understand the interest in such conversations.
Mm,
It's not that I don't get it, but I would say that's, and you know what? There's also this, there's always a chance that you end up in mental masturbation.
hmm hmm Yeah. I think for me, I'm just going to take responsibility for my life, speak my truth, but I'm going to plan my way out of here when I pass, and that's it. And then I'm done. Hopefully, I can wash my hands of this place, enjoy it while I'm here. I always say to people, it is a clown show, but you've got to find the love and the joy in it, and nature and travel, and there's a lot of stuff that is enjoyable and we should enjoy and experience. So it doesn't have to be this like this lifetime where we're in fear, and we don't want to do anything, and we can't like go out or do anything, or everything's got to be depressed and sad. No, because that's what these entities want you to be, like that anyway. For me, I described it the other day as I'm having a party on the way out, right? I know what I need to do to get out. I'm trying to help other people. If they want to take that information on board, they can, but I'm going to make sure that I enjoy it on my way out, and I'm not going to be dragged down, and I'm certainly not going to let these entities try and steal my hopes and dreams, in which hopefully is my last lifetime here.
Mm.
And that's how I'm personally going to play it, and how other people play it is up to them.
Yeah. And I would, I will investigate the following, because I think, let's say it comes for some stupid reason, it comes to the moment where they show you your life review.
Hopefully, you don't get that far.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah,
But here's my take on it. I'm pretty sure that even if that happens, you still have the choice to say, no, guys,
yeah,
and
yeah.
now I'm going, because they cannot do it by force.
No,
They
no.
have to have your, yeah, you have to be willing
They
to
have to
stand there.
consent. Yeah, you have to consent. But they do it. They're so clever in the way they do it because rather than them say, "Oh, well, you need to go back down," they guilt and shame people. So they tap into that human essence which is loving, right? Which feels, and they know that about us. So that's why they will replay all our worst parts and make you feel like shit. So so you go back down again. It's like, oh God, I hurt Auntie Sue back in 1995. So now I've got to live another 85 years down on this hell realm.
Well,
So
in that particular case, I would say, then please show me one human being who has not hurt anybody.
yeah, and they're the worst hypocrites. I mean, look at what they're doing, stealing people's energy, working through murderers and rapists and doing what they do. I mean, they're a fine one to judge and give their opinion on what's good and bad karma. Like, oh, do you know what I mean? Like that, and the other day I was thinking like, oh, you're gonna, because they record all of our life, all the moments, right? From if you really study these things. And I was like, the other day I was like, do you know what? Record that, right? Use that for one of your I don't know, lessons up there or something. And that's what we need to do. We just need to all do that. But in this 3D realm and then after as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I think even if it comes to that, there is no need to panic and have the feeling, oh, I blew it. I'm standing in front of the big
I mean, for
screen.
me,
Yeah.
it's all about intention. When I pass, my intention is to leave. There's no if an entity or God comes toward. I'm like, no, 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 and then I'll rip a hole out of the fabric of the matrix, or my consciousness. I trust completely will take me to the way that I need to get out because I'm driving the car. They're not driving the car for me, so I won't even. I probably won't even see any of those.
Yeah. Okay. So, Tony, thank you so much for coming. Is there anything you would like to add?
No, not really. I think I said everything there. I mean, yeah, all I would like to add just again is because I know when you find out about what's going on, and even if you've known for a while, it can get you down. Just don't let these things get these parasites get you down. Don't let them steal your joy. Continue to make plans and don't give up on your dreams in this lifetime and do all the things that you want to do and love and smile and create. This is what we are. We're the creative beings here. We're the storytellers, the songwriters, the comedians. Get in touch with that creative side and just know that if you play it right, then hopefully it's your last time round and just enjoy it while you're here. We've got to find the joy in it.
Yeah. Okay. So, guys, that was it. Night flight for today. Tony Sayers, and we see you all next time. Stay safe and